This video is going to step us through the first material in Section 6, Advanced Material Techniques in the Unreal Engine 4 Shaders and Effect Cookbook. And this is all about working with Vertex colors and doing some vertex painting in Unreal. I'll be honest, I usually do my vertex painting inside of Maya, but it is nice to know that we can do this right inside of Unreal as well. But just be aware that you can do vertex painting in other programs. You're not just stuck to having to do it in Unreal. So let's get started. Make sure that you have the correct map open with this light on in it. And we are going to just create a new material. And I'm just going to name this M underscore vertex painting example. Vertex painting example. And I do want to make sure that I'm applying it to our lamp so that we'll be able to see it when it's done. So I'm just going to apply it and let's open it and get this set up. So it's going to be a very simple material. We've kind of sort of made materials like this before in the past where we have our base color, metallic, and roughness. And we've kind of controlled those in the past with using masks. But instead of using a mask this time, we're going to control them using vertex colors. So if you don't know what a vertex color is, vertices on 3D models have the ability to hold color information. They can hold, RGB values similar to what you would think of in an image with a pixel. So this is one way to give color to 3D models, is you can specify on a vertex by vertex basis what its color is. But instead of using it to color our object, we're going to use it as a way to mask different areas on our object, similar to what we did in an earlier example with using an RGB mask. So the first thing we are going to do is we are going to put our texture samples down. So I'm going to hold T and click twice. The first one up here is I'm going to make sure, and I think by default this version of Unreal does this, but we want to, well, let's change it first. So I'm going to change this to T underscore lamp color. And we do want to make sure that the sampler type is set to linear color. That's what we want it on. And it changed it after we set that, so that's good. And we're going to have this one be our base. So, this is going to be that top of the lamp, and then this one is going to be like the metallic base underneath. So let's change this to T lamp base color. So we are going to now lerp the two of these. Since we're only going to be applying one texture, we're going to lerp them together so that we can have the glass color first, and then we'll put the base color, the metallic ring on it second. So I'm going to hold L and click. I'm going to feed our pink glass into there, and then our metallic base into B. So now we need to create our mask for this so that we'll be able to see that pink glass through that. And we're going to do this with creating a vertex color node. So I'm going to right click, start typing vertex color. And this is going to read the vertex color on our 3D model. And we don't have that yet, and that's what we're going to do after we create this material, is we're going to put vertex color on things. Specifically, we're going to say anything, any vertices that have red in them, we want to be our base. So we are going to say, hey, that red, any red vertex colors, any vertices that have a red color, we don't want you to mask, because we're going to keep you, because that's what's going to be the metallic base. So any other colors that would paint on there, that the green and the blue would be ignored for this. We're only going to work with red though, but just so you know that you can pull off green and blue just like we've done in the past with the masking. So next, we have our base color. We do need to set up our roughness and metallic. So we are going to need some lerps for those. So let's do our metallic. Let me just actually move this one up here. Oops. So these up out of the way. We'll keep this kind of low because we're going to need this. I'm going to make 4 constants. So I'm going to hold 1 and click 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is going to be for our metallic, and this is going to be for our roughness. We are going to lerp these together, so I'm going to hold down L and click twice to add those lerps. And just trying to organize this a little bit nicer so it's easier to see. These are going to go with this one. Oh, I should probably hook this up into base color before I forget, right? So this is our base color, so let me hook that into there. This lerp is going to be our metallic, and this one will be our roughness. So for the metallic one, if it is the pink glass, we don't want it to be metallic, so that's going to stay at 0. If it is the metal base, we want it to be metallic, so we're going to give it a value of 1. We'll then lerp these together with 0 on the top and 1 on B, and then we'll use that same red vertex color to indicate that part of the lamp. So we'll be able to just have that one value be where that base is. Next, for the roughness, I think I'm going to give the glassy part a roughness of 0.5. So I'm going to change that first one to 0.5 and feed that into A. And then for the metallic part, we want it to be a little bit shinier. So I'm going to give it a roughness of 0.25 and feed that into B. It also needs our red vertex color to mask. So we're going to throw that in there. And we should be good to go. It's going to look kind of weird since it is doing things based off of our vertex color. It doesn't quite have vertex colors. So we should see stuff, but it's probably, we're not really getting that pink stuff, and that's fine. So let me double check I hooked up everything, and that looks good. So I'm going to hit apply and save. And now we can head back to here. So the next step is going to be to actually paint some vertex colors. And if you are following along in the book, it's a little bit different how it's set up in Unreal. So if you are looking at the pictures in the book, the pictures are a little bit different. We got to find things in slightly different places. So I'm going to turn on my painting mode. So I'm going to go to this modes drop down, and I'm going to choose this mesh paint. So, and it gives us all of our mesh paint tools. So with the select, I do want to make sure that this lamp is selected, and the visualization, I'm going to change the color view mode from off to RGB channels. And you can see that this model was fully painted red, and that's not really what we want. It has vertex colors of red right now. So let me go to paint real quick, and I'm going to look at a couple settings. The first thing is we probably don't want to paint it all red, so we're going to actually fill this back in with not red, but let's kind of get some settings set up with this first. So I got my mesh paint selected. Vertex painting, I do want to actually keep it on white for now, and I want to turn off all of my channels except for red, so that I mean, it's fully white now, so it's not going to do much, but I do want to go back and fill this in with black. So I'm actually going to change that white to black real quick, and I'm going to click fill so that I fill it in with not red. So if we were to go back to our select and change this back to off, we can see that it's now using the glass color since there's no red vertex color on here anymore. So let's turn this back to our RGB channels so we can paint on them. And go back to paint. And I'm going to change this paint color back to red. So we're going to be painting, oops, I'm sorry, white. So it needs to go to white with our red channel turned on because we are going to be painting on the red channel. The way that this works is you can almost think of it as we're masking. So we're only putting white into the red channel. If we had all the channels selected, we would just be painting whatever color. But since we know we just explicitly want red, it makes sense to just make sure that we are just painting white into that red channel. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to just start painting so I can get a nice base. There are, I would recommend trying to play with some of these settings. With like the different like strengths and fall offs. You can even try like doing like the brush flow. You might get a nicer look to it. But like I said, lots of programs have vertex coloring tools. I usually do it in Maya rather in here than in here because we're gonna have to go back and clean this up. So I'm gonna come back in a second. I just want to make sure I get all of this down here. I'm then going to make this a little bit smaller. Let's pick the strength back up to 1. Size to like a 0.1, maybe. Oops, and I'm going to erase this. I'm going to hold down, is it Shift? Yeah, it's Shift will erase, so I can come back in and erase this off. So holding Shift is your eraser. Let's erase. Vertex Colors is a very old school way to give color information to a model. It's really efficient because you don't have to import any extra materials into here, like any extra textures. So you're saving a lot of space in your game. And this is I'm probably going to call this done. It's not perfect. Like I said, I don't really like the tools in here. I prefer to use other programs, but it's really hard to get, like, you see how it's kind of like, well, now it's erasing that. You could probably play around with some of these settings a little bit more, get it a little bit cleaner, but honestly, just for this quick demo, I think this is going to be good enough. Like I said, I usually do this stuff in Maya instead of in Unreal, so just be aware of that. If you take the photogrammetry class, when we do our high poly models, we actually bake out our high poly from the photogrammetry software with Vertex Color. So rather than getting a material out of the photogrammetry software, we have millions and millions of vertices model where each vertice has a specific color, so we were able to get a much higher resolution. So it is kind of important to understand vertex colors, especially if you're trying to do more advanced things, because they're going to come into play a lot in a lot of weird and interesting settings. Okay, so I have that painted. I'm going to go back to my select and turn this off, and we can see our finished model. And like I said, it's not perfect. It did get a little bit weird there, but I don't want to try to spend too much time tweaking it. Importing in a model that already has vertex color from a different program might be a little bit easier, but just be aware that you can do vertex painting inside of Unreal.